Seriously?
I ready to go walking?
Be careful. Melly will launch you off the porch. They both done it. Like one time I was doing like this. I'm on the phone. I'm like, ugh. They actually pulled it like a cartoon.
Oh my gosh, you guys look so cute. A little more this way. There we go. Stop. Melly, stop.
If the fall of man is the problem, then what is the solution? What is the heart of the Father for humanity? You know, like what in the world is his goal with us outside of restoring people back to him? Like once we're restored back to him, what is the full purpose and potential that we have? Like the gospel in a nutshell is just who he is to me and who I am to him.
In efforts to try to figure this out, we've gotten away from simplicity. You know what I mean? And so the heart of the Father is this, the heart of the Father is this. Well, it's power, signs, and wonders, which are amazing, you know. Or it's heaven, or it's, you know, to not have a bad life, or it's to straighten out my spouse. Ultimately, the heart of the Father is Christ's likeness. Philippians 1:6 says, being confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work and you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. You know, and I've always looked at that, and, you know, we were talking about being kept and being preserved, right? He says he'll complete it until that day. Not on that day, not you know, until we get there. He says until that day, like from this day until. And it's a beautiful thing to me. Like being kept is like a really good thing.
No doubt.
You know what I mean?
What he has done is sufficient for us to meet the standard all the time.
Mm-hmm.
His grace is sufficient to strengthen us to do what we just can't do on our own. A humble submission is the key to being successful and being consistent in this lifestyle.
Yeah.
We are all called to multiply the image of love.
Absolutely.
And if we're all called to multiply the image of love, and then we read 1 Timothy, he says that literally the goal of his instruction is love.
Right.
So if the goal of his instruction is love, and we submit to his instruction, then we're going to meet the goal.
Right.
We're going to become love. The fruit of what your obedience looks like is love. The Father says that I'm going to love you first. I'm going to show you how it's done so that you can be effective and efficient and loving just like me. So that his image, so that his heart can be multiplied.
He wanted to fill the earth with love and subdue it with love. It's simple gospel, right? Jesus says no greater love than this, that one would lay down his life for his friends. Jesus, he modeled submission by laying down his life for his creation, that we would have a example to follow.
Yeah.
That takes a tremendous amount of humility. The beauty of the good news, right, is that, man, he gives us a new nature, he gives us a new heart, he gives us this new perspective, but this heart of compassion for people that otherwise you would just turn away from, or punch in the face, or whatever. You know, the Father's heart is that we love as he loved. How he loved is how he sent his son. He sacrificed everything. Scripture says while we were yet his enemy. That's crazy. Man, like, that's how we're supposed to love, man. The whole goal of the instruction is love. From a pure heart, clean conscience, and a sincere faith. In 1 Corinthians 13, he says that, you know, he says that love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails.
Paul says that I'm afraid that you would be drawn astray from the simplicity of the gospel, as Eve was deceived in the beginning.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of comparison between Eve and everybody today, that we would be drawn astray from the simplicity. And what does the simple gospel look like? If it says his goal of his instruction is for us to become that image of love, for love to be manifested.
Right.
You look at the beginning and you're like, his goal in creating man was to multiply his image.
Right.
He gave man woman so that the image would not remain single, but it would be multiplied upon the earth. In the beginning, God created man and he said, that's very good.
Yeah.
Yet, we ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, things changed. Eve was deceived and things changed.
Right.
At that point, we began to see things way different. That's what Paul's saying. Like, look, the simplicity of the gospel is not found in a perspective that you see after the fall.
I can explain that, you know, Jesus died for our sin and died to remove it, and all that's amazing. He rose, and then he poured out his spirit, lives in us. But ultimately, the simple gospel is God sent Jesus to regain this intimacy, to bring us back to the Father. Like, you know, Adam and Eve didn't lose the power to heal the sick. They didn't just lose the right to be in paradise with God. Walking the earth in communion is walking in paradise with God.
Yeah.
In your perspective, and I think that's the position. They lost a perspective, they lost an intimacy, they lost relationship.
Yeah. I mean, we look at Jesus and we see someone who casted out devils, who raised the dead, who healed the sick, who cleansed the lepers, who did all these amazing miracles, turned water into wine, walked on water.
Yeah.
Like, he had peace in the midst of the storm. Is that the product of what the Father in his heart intended in the beginning to be produced? Adam and Eve and what they were doing and how it looked with the Father. There's this relationship. There's this beauty of Father wanting to just take us by the hand and teach us and walk with us and love us.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately he says that, wow, this is so good. I want it to be multiplied.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to begin to father people like I'm fathering people, Adam. I want you to go have little babies and show them what I've showed you.
Yeah. Right.
This is what was lost. This is, he came to seek and to save that which was lost.
Yeah, that which was lost.
It's not like all of the things that we do, all of the miracles and all the things that's part of our life in the kingdom.
Yeah.
Is only to draw people back to this place of intimacy.
Right.
And that's good
That's
news,
the
bro.
simple. That's the simple. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
I love it. The whole goal is love, but the whole goal is that we're intimate with Him. And like I've heard people like, man, I just got this new car, man. Look at this new car, man. Look how all the bells and man, that's a car. I mean, like, I'm glad you got a new car, amazing. But God lives inside of you, man, and you have right relationship and was restored back to the Father. And you're not going to tell nobody.
We know the simplicity is love. We know the simplicity is obedience. We know the simplicity is walking like He walked. But the simplicity it only manifests through holding hands with Dad and walking with Him and being taught by Him and being followed by Him
every day
and just growing with Him.
Yeah,
like there's just this heaviness that comes with so many details. So the things that we focus on sometimes brings more of a focus on details, and it distracts us from this simplicity. It's ultimately it's the way that seems right unto man that ends with death.
Yeah.
And not just death of this physical body, but death of your eternal purpose and your potential here on earth. It strips away what you have been created to be because there's so many distractions, there's so many questions that you just can't walk. We're going to walk by sight and not by faith. We're not going to meet the goal.
It's true.
The love is not going to be revealed. And it don't matter where you're at today or what you're going through or how well your day's going. Like, being His love is made possible by receiving His love.
People say, well, I have a hard time receiving, right? Or, you know, I don't know how to feel His love. Like, well, it's simply as saying, okay, Father, I know that You died for me. I know that You love me. I know that You want me as part of Your family. Thank You. It's not about feelings or it's not about like, oh, he doesn't feel close. Come on, He's as close as the mention of His name.
Yeah.
He'll never leave us nor forsake us. Man, He's getting there. Come on, how much closer do we need Him to be? Come on, He's put who He is on the side of me. He lives in me, man.
Yeah.
And so it's just this idea of thank You. I love You.
Like you walk up to the cliff, and what it looks like to receive God's love is to submit to Him and just literally fall into His arms.
Right.
Fall in love with God.
Yeah.
Man, just look. It says, all that the Father gives me will come to me.
Yeah.
So has the Father given you to Jesus? Well, you feel like coming to him today? He says, all that the Father gives me will come to me.
Right.
So the call is there.
Yeah.
Will we heed to it? Will we submit to his love and just fall in love with him? Like today is the day that you can say, yes, I want to love God. And literally the only thing that can come against you at that point is questions that need no answers.
Right.
When you fall in love with God, those questions will fall away.
And I just want to encourage that, you know, you don't have to find anybody to lead you in prayer. You can just simply say yes. Like if you're hearing this today, and I don't know what day you'll be looking at this on, but if you're hearing it and it's pricking your heart, and you're like, man, I need that, just say yes, and he'll meet you there. I promise.
He says he will teach us, he will remind us, he will correct us, he will convict us. The promises are there. As you study who Jesus is and who you are to him, you will see the simplicity of this thing play out in your life, and you will see his love dwell up in you, and you will begin to manifest his intended purpose, and you will begin to walk with him. And as you go, he will teach, he will remind, he will convict, he will correct, he will father you, and you will produce the peaceable fruits of righteousness. You will look just like he looked while he was here, because you submit to him, because you give him yourself, you yield to him. Bro, this is so good, man. The simplicity of this thing is what makes it possible. So if we got any questions or anything, anybody's got like concerns, well, that's not what I've heard, well, I would, you know, like that's not what my preacher said, or whatever. Like, I don't know what your preacher, and I don't know what he said. All I know is what's in my heart, and I'm more than happy. Like this whole ministry is about laying things out on the table, and you give us what you have on the table, and then we consider what is God's will and what is God's truth.
Yeah, just comment. You know, if you have questions or even concerns, or like, man, you guys are heretics or whatever, just comment, man. This isn't a we're right, you're wrong thing. This is, man, we're the body of Christ. we want to hash out what it looks like to walk as he walked.
All right, 1, 2, 3, praise Jesus.
I didn't know what.